Alright, you guys. So, for whatever it is worth, Microsoft has officially kind of purchased Activision Blizzard King. They kind of won out their whole FTC battle that's been going on for a year plus now. There are some more details I need to get ironed out, a little more things I need to get worked on. But for whatever it's worth, it seems as though Microsoft Xbox is going to go through with the purchase, the acquisition of the ABK deal. And I know there's a lot of people that are hyped about Call of Duty. Call of Duty's been the center, the focus of this game, or of this whole like back and forth between the FTC and the CMAs and stuff like that. And don't get me wrong, I love Call of Duty. I play Call of Duty like once a week with my brothers if I get the chance. But more importantly than Call of Duty are Activision and Blizzard's other IPs that I feel like have been wildly underutilized in protection or in trying to create the next Call of Duty all the time. So in today's video, I kind of want to go over what I hope comes out of this deal as far as gaming, because everything else aside from like Xbox platform, Game Pass, all that stuff, that's an Xbox, that's a Microsoft issue. If you game exclusively on Xbox, that's a you issue. Me personally, my thing is I just want to see what comes of these IPs and these titles. So the first title I want to talk about is Spyro. So Activision has owned Spyro for a good chunk now, for a good while now. And Spyro, for me growing up, was one of the first 3D platformers that I really loved away from Mario. And I mean, pretty much since the original trilogy of Spyro, we never really got anything noteworthy, in my opinion, anything that really made me say, wow, I really love this. There was some other kind of different style games, but nothing really that like hit the same as the original trilogy. And a while ago, they made like the Reignited trilogy that like remade pretty much all those three original games. And for whatever it was worth, those are really good, and they really kind of captured what was the original Spyro. But we never really had anything else since then. And I feel like Spyro is an IP that kind of deserves more. I feel like at one time, I wouldn't hold it up to like the same level of like 3D Mario ever was. But for a lot of people, especially if you grew up on the PlayStation 1 era, you know that Spyro was a heavy hitter IP. He was really cool. He was really different. And I just want to see something new come out of this. The next game I want to talk about is Prototype. Prototype back in like 2009, 2008. I remember like the hype cycle, the trailers leading up to Prototype. It was so different and so unique. It looked super cool. And I think like during like the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3 era, we got a lot of these really cool kind of modern style action adventure games. And for me, I really like that a lot. I love like action adventures like in medieval times as well, but there's something different about a modern take. They're usually like gritty and darker, and Prototype definitely had this kind of like anti-hero aesthetic to it, and I just really love Prototype's gameplay and their combat. And pretty much since the original studio that developed Prototype kind of got dissolved and essentially became a support studio for Call of Duty, it always sucked that we never got a Prototype 3. I feel like Prototype was an IP that definitely deserved a trilogy at the very least. And now that Microsoft swears that they're going to let these developer studios kind of make what they want to do, I'm hoping that there's still enough people from the PS3, Xbox 360 era at Activision that are willing to kind of summon a team together and hopefully pitch Prototype 3 to Xbox, and hopefully, you know, Phil Spencer and them can stay true to their word. And I think Prototype 3 would be a really cool addition to a lot of the games that Xbox has right now. And I feel like it'd be something very different, because a lot of their action adventures, a lot of their RPGs currently right now are looking like more medieval style, like Avowed and stuff like that. And I would like to see something a little bit more modern, something a little bit more gritty. And again, I just think that this game would fit really nicely as a variety piece to Xbox. A lot of you guys know Infinity Ward as the team that helps develop some of the Call of Duty games. Before they were Infinity Ward, they were a team called Neversoft. And I remember Neversoft coming out with Gun. Gun was for me, my first like Western cowboy game, and I was a really big fan of like the Clint Eastwood Western movies, and this really kind of harnessed that energy. I was really excited for it, and overall, I really liked the game. For me, like riding horses and going into the saloons and doing like the shootouts was super fun. It got me into games like Call of Juarez, games like Red Dead Redemption. I don't think I would have cared as much as about those games if I never actually played Gun and enjoyed Gun as much as I did. And I always kind of wished there would be like another Gun game. We never really got another one, as you know, Neversoft closed down and became Infinity Ward. And I'm not saying Infinity Ward needs to go back and recreate Neversoft and go and make Gun again. No, I don't think that really needs to happen. Infinity Ward is doing amazing things with Call of Duty, and obviously they've helped lift Call of Duty up to the pantheon of gaming that it is now. I just want maybe a remake of Gun, or even just let some of your other studios develop a Gun game. Like, again, I just feel like there's more to this kind of Western that a lot of people aren't really, minus Red Dead, there really isn't really that like same level. I know Call of Juarez kind of had a lot of games that kind of overstayed their welcome, but Gun was definitely very different to those games. One of my favorite games on PlayStation 2 was Tony Hawk Underground, Tony Hawk Underground 2. Those are some of my favorite Tony Hawk games. I know a lot of people have this nostalgia for like the Pro Skater series, and I also like the Pro Skater series, but for me, Tony Hawk Underground was my Tony Hawk game, and I freaking loved it. From the story mode to the creative characters to like the create a trick. You could create parks. A lot of really cool stuff in these games. You can go around and like, collect like those little videotapes that'll give you like this really cool like real life skate tricks and stuff like that. Overall, it was just really cool. I feel like it was definitely a huge evolution of what the Pro Skater series was. And after Underground 2, we didn't really, Tony Hawk, for me, in my opinion, went in a weird direction that I didn't really like. After Tony Hawk Underground 2, I kind of got out of Tony Hawk, and I was kind of like the rise of skate anyways. But I do really miss Tony Hawk Underground, and I do really enjoy playing that game. I think they had a lot of really fun characters, a lot of really fun tricks, and overall, it really kind of harnessed that early 2000s kind of like skateboardy punk era that I really liked. Again, I'm not expecting a remake of this game. It'd be really cool if they remake Tony Hawk Underground and Tony Hawk Underground 2, same way they did a Pro Skater version, or just maybe like, you know, re-talk to Tony Hawk. Maybe there's in it for a Tony Hawk Underground 3 or something. But I definitely think there's something more to that Underground franchise that definitely got cut, in my opinion, a little short. The final treasure within this whole Activision acquisition that I feel like doesn't get as much hype is Crash Bandicoot. I feel like back in the PlayStation 2 era, PlayStation 1 era, Crash Bandicoot was king, man. Like, he was one of the few like 3D platformers that really came up and stuck it to Sonic, stuck it to Mario. He was definitely very edgy, very cool, very different. And I mean, it was a little cringe looking back at it, but overall, it was just very much in line with the times. And I would love to see something new from Crash Bandicoot. I know they did the Insane trilogy, which was freaking phenomenal, and then they have this new weird Crash Team Rumble game that I mean, nobody's hyped for that game, but a Crash Bandicoot definitely has room to be a mainstay on Xbox. I think Xbox would be really doing a big disservice to the gaming community if they don't get somebody to work on a new Crash Bandicoot game. I know there's this huge talk as to whether or not there's an audience for like platformers or 3D platformers on Xbox. And again, I just feel like with IPs like Spyro, with IPs like Crash Bandicoot, you have Banjo as well. You have some of the most iconic 3D platformers in your arsenal of gaming. You have the ability to create an audience if there's not one there. And I find it hard to believe that there's no audience for Crash on Xbox. for Spyro, for Banjo. These 3D platformers are prolific for a reason. They have gameplay and characters that kind of resonate with people. Even if their people aren't familiar with them, they are very lively in a way where you just throw a trailer out there, and I definitely think there will be enough hype for a revival of a lot of these franchises. So again, if Xbox goes and purchases these Activision and they don't do anything with a lot of these titles, specifically Crash Bandicoot, I think it'd be a huge disservice to, again, all of the fans of Activision. So I'm hoping Xbox realizes that purchasing ABK, I know for them, is a great business move. It makes sense financially. It makes sense with the fact that Call of Duty is a huge IP. You're going to get that, annual huge money coming in, influx of cash, whatever. You have King's mobile division that is super important to Xbox, and I get that. But understand that acquiring them now means that you're the house that's going to be housing some of the most prolific IPs Activision has, and Activision has wildly underutilized them for too long, and Xbox has this chance to be the saving grace for gamers who grew up like me on things like Crash, Tony Hawk, Spyro, and I'm hoping they just understand this and they kind of rise up to the occasion. Anyways, those are my final thoughts on this whole ABK deal, as much as it pertains to me and how much I care about it. If it does officially go through, Xbox, I am going to be watching you, man, because Activision has let us down way too long, and this is your chance to come out on top. Anyways, I'm going to leave it with that. Do me a favor, you guys. Like this video if you guys enjoy it. Dislike it if you didn't. It is what it is. Let me know down below what you guys think, if there's any IPs that you want to see come forward from this. Overall, subscribe if you guys enjoy some content like this. See you guys in the next one.